Well, hello again. Welcome again to another reading. I've been kind of going through some old books that I found online, and I came across this one by William Yapp, Y-A-P-P, and it's entitled Goodness and Mercy. And I thought I would do a full-length book. There's chapters in this book, and so we'll kind of go through it. But it also comes with an introduction by M.S. Davis, M.M. Davis, of Leominster. And this is Kilmarnock, John Ritchie's publishing of Christian literature and through all bookshelves. And I noticed there was a little thing right in the very front by Robert C. Chapman. I always liked Robert C. Chapman. He was called the brother of brotherly love. And he wrote this: Thy brothers, Lord, are my delight. I love them strong and weak. They all are precious in my sight. The forward with the meek. I serve them, Lord. They are thine, thy Father's gift to thee. The Spirit by thy blood divine from prisoners set them free. R.C. Chapman. Okay. So now, moving on here. This is the content of the book, and it's got a few chapters. The first one is the family of God. The second one is the world created for man and ruined by sin. The tabernacle for God in a ruined world. The golden candlestick in the holy place. Emmanuel, God with us. The suffering of Christ. The toil and triumph of love. The temple of God, what is it? The present ministry of the Spirit, a few thoughts on the Lord's Supper, God's joy in his family, the pearl of great price, satisfied with Christ, and the love of the Spirit. This always does this for some reason. It wants to magnify. All right, in Memoriam, William Yapp, beloved as the servant of the Lord and as the successor of every man. In foremost ranks of life, stern battlefield, with hands upraised and sword in truth to wield, the Christian warrior stood in holy zeal to his great captain, even true and led. When lo, the word of sweet command was given, shielded was his sword, and he upborne to heaven, yes, to their sword and imprisoned soul. When victory's psalm is no harmonious stroll, the full fruitance of that life to know, of secret peace sown in the heart below, how sweet his joy, how high his position there, when God redeeming in love rich banquet shares. Through all his courses he dwelt, Jesus near. He smiled to see his gracious voice and hear the blessed blooms for which he count dross. The things of time and noble bore the cross, and filled with love which Jesus himself had given, he lived a willing sacrifice to heaven. lit with the beams from God's eternal throne. His pathway bright and still brighter shone, and to his memory may be grateful hearts shall raise our rich shine then, sculptured art, while Christians' hearts in noble strain shall sing the power of him from which all ages spring. November 1874. That brings us to the introduction. The introduction, in a brief space available, it is impossible to give more than a fragment outline of the life and labor of the loved writer of those precious truths that are gathered in the small volume. Only those who were privileged to personally know Mr. William Yapp can have any adequate idea of the wealth of love and lavished on God's people during his long life and his nobility of his Christian character. Brought to the Lord in early youth, Mr. Yapp immediately yielded his body a living sacrifice to God, and sacrifice once laid on the altar seemed never withdrawn. To the Church of God his whole life proclaimed him, your servants for Jesus' sake. By him all saints were regarded as having a claim on him. The sorrowing and the heir drew out his sympathy and his help, and many a bereaved heart had he made to sing for joy. The children forgotten, they had a large share of his tender love and care. And in the sight of Mr. Yapp, kindly free-faced, coming along the road, who caused their eyes to sparkle and their feet to go faster, till they met him, and they went on their way with lightened hearts for his cheery words. And loving smile, still a fragrant memory after more than a quarter of a century. And again, this thing is doing the same thing. It is not his ministry, very and precious as it was, that drew hearts everywhere to him, and caused them to look beyond the servant to the master. It was the love of God shed abroad by words and deeds that drew and held fellow saints in the manner those who do not personally know him can have little concept of it. For many years in Hereford and subsequently in London and Leominster, Mr. Yapp took a large share in gospel work, extending the testimony to neighboring countries. Worcester, a marvelous Rose, Lieberg, and Leominster, and London, Lulo, and reached by house and trap. Mr. Yapp at one time kept 5 horses in his stable for this purpose. Breaking of bread was instituted every Lord's Day morning in a large room in Mr. Yapp's house, which became too small when enlarged at the cost defrayed by brother and sister, selling their silver plates and superficial furniture. Many of the believers connected with this movement and Mr. Yapp's had a prominent share. and had been connected with the Church of England. Gifts which their church possession and hitherto represented were now brought into existence, and many laborers as evangelists, pastors, and teachers, etc. Grace, come on. Oh, this thing is just going goofy here. Okay. Grace, love, and power prevailed. God was glorified in them, and many from the world were through converted. Among these men of God, it was said that Mr. W. Yapp was head and shoulders above everyone else in the love and the self-sacrifice, every willing to give up time, comfort, and purse for the welfare and the spiritual good of others. Failing health compelled Mr. Yapp to leave London in 1863, and he returned to the end days on earth in the scenes of his youth, viz. In Leominster, and highly privileged was that little town in being permitted to have 11 years of his faithful care and loving ministry. One of the last acts of this noble-hearted brother was to rest and furnish the Waterloo House at Leominster for the purpose of accommodating brothers who he hoped to assemble in the Lord's name for mutual prayer, counsel, and conferences on matters concerning the welfare of the Church of God. Mr. Yapp had the joy of seeing 4 conferences held there in the year 1874, and many are alive who remember some of those first ministry brothers. 3 of the chiefs were Messer H. Dyer and H. Groves, and H. Heath, familiar known as the 3 Harrys, men who were mighty in the Scriptures, and who brings dead yet speak. Many today have cause to thank God for their faithful ministry. Some of their writings may be had in some other volumes of Leominster's library. Unfortunately, with this one, on November 28, 1874, the Lord called his faithful servant to his rest above. He committed this service to the beloved wife, and how well and faithful she has carried on the service so dear to Mr. Yapp's heart. It is too well known to need a comment here. Well, suffice it is to say that this work for God is able, begun by Mr. Yapp in 1874, has so grown and increased that now, in 1901, there is scarcely any land in the wide world where the name of the Leominster's Conference and the name of the beloved servant of God will begin, and the one who carries them on still do not cause a thrill of joy. We're called to remember it is the golden lamp which for 5 years Mr. Yapp had edited with love and prayer. There appeared in the January issue in 1875 a brief but deep interesting account of his last days on earth, the persecution labored of love for the Lord, his church. Illness fell upon him, from which he began prostrate and sank. Overcome with much toil, he had a lapse of late, especially of late. His cries, "Loose me and let me go, Lord Jesus. Take me to thyself, Lord Jesus," was soon the answer, and his happy spirit passed into the presence of the Lord, who so long he had loved, and whom so faithfully he had served. So ended his life, noble, consecrated, and devoted, having one purpose, and that Christ, to serve this church wherever his high ambition and life, health, strength, ease, and means, each of all which led as well offering on God's altar. And that was wrote by MMD. And when we get together next time, we're going to look at this book that he wrote, Goodness and Mercy. And the first thing we're going to look at in the first chapter is the family of God. So with that said, I'm going to just end it here. Until next time, bye for now.